Chapter 411, Pseudogap. Neo was drowned in thoughts when air elementals approached him. The air around him swirled playfully. "We've made our choice. And that is, we are not going to help you." The wind howled briefly, as if laughing at his predicament. "It's funnier to see what is happening right now. More entertaining." Neo nodded, unfazed. He had expected such a reaction from air. Their nature was fickle, driven more by amusement than duty. Instead, he called upon another set of elementals. Space. Silver motes of light appeared around him. A deep, echoing voice resonated from the shimmering lights. "What is it, little one? I want your help. Whether we can help you or not depends upon the weight of your wish. If it's too heavy of a wish, not just us, but every elemental won't be able to help you unless you pay an appropriate price." Neo was not surprised by the revelations. It would have been weirder if the elementals helped him just because he could talk with them. "It's a simple request. Teach me about the pseudogap Kane was talking about." On the side, Kane observed Neo. He could sense the space elementals fluctuating. It seemed like Neo could communicate with the elementals. The news was surprising but not entirely impossible. "If it's that alone is your request, we can teach you without any cost." The silver motes moved, forming a glowing pattern in the air to draw his attention. They displayed the dimensional shift movement. Gap is what people refer to as dimensions that exist on different, or higher, frequencies. Most people remain unaware of these dimensions and can never interact with them. By having space affinity, one gains the ability to perceive the gap and manipulate it. As they spoke, some of the elementals drifted toward Kane, circling him. "Explore stories on my virtual library empire. Unlike them, you and this child don't have space affinity. You can neither perceive the gap nor manipulate it." Neo frowned slightly, recalling something. "Wait a second. I was able to see the other dimensions when I fell through the gap. How could I do it if I couldn't perceive the higher dimensions? When you enter another dimension, your frequency is adjusted to match it. That was why you were able to perceive the worlds when you entered them. In exchange, you couldn't perceive your original world since your frequency had changed." The space elementals explained with the patience of a teacher addressing a child. They ensured their words were simple and easy to understand. Although you can't perceive the gap, it still exists. And since it exists, you can interact with it. The gap could be thought of as hard clay. Stronger children, those with space affinity, could touch the clay, interact with it, and change its shape, manipulate it. Since they had the strength to do so, they had space affinity. Normal children, those without space affinity, could touch the clay, interact with it, but they could not change its shape, not manipulate it. Since they lacked the strength, lacked space affinity, to do so. If you try to enter the gap, you will fall into it uncontrollably. That can never change. Unless you have space affinity, it's impossible for you. The words of the space elementals made Neo's brows crease. His fingers curled slightly as he processed their meaning. There was no use in being able to move in the gap, interact with it, if he could never control it. Without the ability to perceive the gap, he would always get lost within it. "It's not useless," the space elementals suddenly said. "You can interact with the gap and you can, in a limited way, use it." "How?" Neo asked swiftly. His voice carried a hidden urgency. He didn't realize it, but he had started to become frustrated by his growth. He wasn't strong enough. Ranking up helped, but it was not everything. If all he did was rank up, he would never match those on the same level as him or stronger than him. He needed powerful techniques of his own and a strong foundation. Only then could he become truly strong. Pseudogap. Neo listened carefully. Call it a technique, a state, or even a place if you want. Pseudogap is the transitional phase between the dimensions you can perceive naturally and the gap. Think of it as taking a step into the gap, but not entering it fully, and keeping a foot in your own dimension. By doing this, you leave an anchor in your dimension, which stops you from falling into the gap, and allows you to utilize the gap. How do I enter this pseudogap? By training. You know how to enter the gap. Entering the pseudogap is same. It only require more careful control. Neo mulled over the space elemental's words. It sounded easy to do. He had entered the gap once already. Now he had to do it again, but only halfway. That should be easier than entering the gap completely. Neo moved. He tried to enter the gap. The movements were fluid, but suddenly, he jerked and stopped. Cold sweat covered his body when he realized what had happened. I was about to fall into the gap. The moment he tried to enter, it was as if his entire body was being sucked into it. An invisible force pulled at him, dragging him toward the place he could not perceive. Had he not stopped in time, he would have fallen. Space, can you bring me back if I fall like last time? It depends on if you are willing to pay the price. And the space elementals hesitated, their glow dimming slightly before they added, if you fall into forbidden lands again, it will be impossible to bring you back. Neo's expression darkened. He wanted to ask about the forbidden lands, but he could tell the space elementals did not want to talk about it. Their usually steady presence wavered slightly, as if even speaking of it was dreadful. Instead, he asked another question. What if I fall somewhere else, like another world or dimension, and I'm willing to pay the price to return? Chapter 412. Uncontrolled Evolution, Monsterization, Limiter. We will help you, but the return will not be instantaneous, and it will be filled with dangers. Neo nodded, having expected this answer. Talking to elementals and having them manifest their powers for his use cost him mental energy. Movement between dimensions would cost even more, draining him to his limits. Neo would have to take breaks on the way back to recover. It would take time. He might also encounter a powerful enemy while he was resting. Hence, it was dangerous. Thank you for explaining everything. It was nothing. The silver motes flickered one last time before disappearing. Neo stood still, contemplating the word space had left behind. His eyes shifted to his surroundings. Above, a sunshine floated in the air, casting a bright radiance over the battlefield. It was probably night, given how the original sun of Tartarus had disappeared, leaving only sunshine behind. A voice rang out, breaking the silence. I've been dying for 7 hours. Percival's voice boomed, filled with frustration. 7 hours. I'm dying, and dying. Percival grabbed handle of his massive warhammer. His muscles tensed, veins bulging as his patience snapped. I'm done playing nice. With a roar, he surged forward at high speed. Before Dorothy, the ostrich, even appeared, he swung his giant hammer toward the empty space on his left. The force of the swing sent shockwaves rippling through the air, distorting the space around him. He couldn't sense the ostriches. The reason he attacked was his battle instincts. It told him that was where Dorothy would appear. His attack was perfect. As a seraph, he had lived multiple lives and stacked battle experience from countless battles. It came as no surprise that he struck the exact spot where Dorothy was about to emerge. But, the ostrich suddenly teleported. No, it didn't teleport. The space elementals never moved. Percival was sure of it since he had been keeping an eye on the space. Yet, the ostrich moved from his left to right instantaneously. How? The space elementals did not show any sign. Before he could complete his words, Dorothy delivered a quick stab to his head. Pain exploded in his skull, and his vision darkened. He was dead. A few seconds later, instead of resuming his mindless charge, Percival sat down at the starting point. His expression said he was contemplating over something. Why did you stop? Neo questioned. I need to change my approach. This isn't helping. After the last skirmish, Percival had grown confident he could defeat Dorothy. The ostriches were fast, but they were neither strong nor durable. Earlier, he could have used his hammer to bash Dorothy's face in, but he didn't. There are 2 more ostriches. I'm sure they are faster than Dorothy. I would have been stopped even if I defeated Dorothy. Reading Percival's thoughts cleared Neo's doubts. Having realized he could now defeat Dorothy, the bird that had been drinking his brain juice all day, Percival felt there was no need to continue his reckless assault. He had his revenage. Now, he needed a plan to actually progress. I'm not peeking into his thoughts. I respect others' privacy. Neo rationalized his actions shamelessly. The only reason I read his mind now is because I need to understand why he's acting like he isn't Apollo. Although he didn't find the reason behind Percival's strange behavior, there was an other thing didn't make sense to Neo. His growth is too fast. He was barely able to react to Dorothy's speed. Now he can react to it easily. All this happened within a day. How is that possible? Seems like you realized it, Kane suddenly said. His growth speed is fast, right? Neo turned to Kane with furrowed brows. What's the reason behind it? Percival asked, voicing the same doubt. He had realized something was wrong. The growth speed was unnatural. It's because of your soul. Kane continued. Soul is the source of evolution, and your body is a limiter or a cage if you want to call it that. Staying in a soul state, a state without a body, allows you to grow faster. Oh? Percival frowned. Then why doesn't everyone train in a soul state? Because it's dangerous. The soul evolves quickly, true. But it is an uncontrolled evolution. Most of the time, you gain mutations that are both harmful and powerful. Explore more stories at my virtual library empire. The body is present to prevent that. It limits the evolution speed and makes sure the evolution isn't uncontrolled. Instead, it ensures the evolution follows a proper direction, Kane explained. His words made a lot of sense to Neo. Neo finally understood why the underworld of Earth gave bodies to the souls of the dead. It delays monsterization. Uncontrolled evolution means they will grow with haphazard mutations. That's how souls become monsters. Having a body slows down the evolution, preventing people from becoming monsters. These haphazard mutations must be why monsters are stronger than awakeners and demigods of the same rank. Neo smiled bitterly. Most people, if not all, blamed darkness for souls turning into monsters. If he was to believe Kane's words, darkness did no such thing. It was all the doing of uncontrolled evolution. After Kane explained everything, Percival was staring at him with a stiff expression. So you are saying I'm growing faster because of uncontrolled evolution. But doesn't that mean I'm more prone to monsterization at the same time? You are, Kane nodded. This is a very dangerous training method. For you and for us. If you become a monster, you will be an immortal monster, praised Tartarus, and taking those monsters down is hard. Very hard. That's why I hope you don't fall to monsterization. Percival no longer had the energy to get angry after the day's events. He just gave a deadpan stare, his warhammer resting beside him in the dirt. It's not my fault. This is the only way you can be strong enough to join the grand expedition in only 5 days. And if you want to die less, just work together with Neo, Kane said with a chuckle. I'll think about it, Percival said, his usual enthusiasm nowhere to be seen. Chapter 413, Treasure of Shadow Supreme. Neo raised his eyebrow, surprised to hear the words. You are thinking about working together? I'm not, but I'm not stupid enough to keep trying to fight alone when it's clear I can't complete the training myself. That was a surprisingly mature answer from Percival. Neo sat down beside him. He was tired from talking with elementals, and this was a good chance to speak with Percival. Moments like these were important. After all, he was planning to have Percival help him heal Elizabeth. Can't you outspeed the ostriches with your blessing? I'm trying, but it's not really working. Might is geared towards strength, not agility. The blessing does increase speed, though it's a side effect that appears due to an increase in muscle strength, Percival replied, his tone slightly frustrated. How about using the light element? That. Percival released a long sigh, running a hand through his hair. I'm using light as much as I can for speed. He gave Neo a side glance, studying him carefully. That's why it's weird. How come you are faster than me without using the light element? I have my own blessing. What? Percival's eyes widened in shock. You are the son of Hades? Yeah. To be honest, I didn't think you would know blessing holders are all direct children of gods. Of course, I know about it, Percival said, trying to hide his surprise. His fingers curled slightly against the dirt. I'm the son of a god myself. Well, my first reincarnation was son of Apollo? Yeah. Neo frowned. He read Percival's intent, and sure enough, Percival really thought he was Apollo's son. It confirmed Neo's doubt. Percival didn't have any memory of his life as Apollo. Deciding to change the topic after getting his answer, Neo leaned back slightly against the wooden fence. How about you use your concept of light element? Concepts are specialized powers, so you should be able to generate an overwhelming amount of speed with it. Percival suddenly burst into laughter. Do you know about my concept? Or was that a coincidence? He asked, wiping away a tear. Oh? My concept of light is overwhelming, he said, then stood up with a smile. I've been using overwhelming to boost my strength. That's what the concept was made for, but I guess it's time to change things. A concept once made could not be changed. Neo was an exception to this rule. He could do it only because of the technique a genius like Cain created. Most people carried a single concept for every element throughout their life. Concepts were powerful but not versatile. The method to circumvent such an issue was only one: implementation. One could have multiple implementations of a single concept. To explain it in simpler terms, Percival had gained overwhelming as his concept due to the overwhelmingly existence of the sun, which was the source of light. He used it to boost his strength, overwhelming might. This was his basic implementation. Now, he was trying to change the implementation to overwhelming speed. Needless to say, it was easier said than done. Percival dashed toward a tree, his body a blur of motion. Fweet! Fweet! Dorothy swiftly stabbed him, and Mammothie brought him back to life. Neo sighed as he watched the cycle repeat. I thought you wanted help. Yeah, I do. But let me try all my tricks until then, Percival said, having already overcome his earlier gloom. Besides, I can get stronger faster this way. He bolted ahead with renewed enthusiasm, his determination shining in his eyes. Unlike him, Neo did not take a step forward. You aren't going to start? Cain questioned. I will do it later. Instead of entering the farm, Neo remained outside. He focused, trying to use dimensional shifting to enter pseudogap. While it was dangerous, it was too useful of a technique to ignore. He moved, recalling the movements of air elementals. They were easy to copy. Their grace, their flow, but that wasn't enough. I need to do it differently. The air elementals moved in the gap. I need to move in pseudogap. It's different. His mind flashed back to the slight movements he had seen from Cain. It had only been for a short moment, but he had seen Cain access pseudogap. He tried to mimic it. It was far from enough. Beads of sweat rolled down his back as he concentrated. A moment of negligence and he would fall. He had to be careful. Minutes or maybe hours passed. Neo was immersed in his training and he forgot about time. He moved. 1 step, 2 steps. His body remained where it was. Only someone who could see the gap thanks to their spatial affinity would notice that Neo had moved. For everyone else, he was still on the same spot. Taking a deep breath, Neo took the 3rd step. His body blurred, and he instantly appeared 100 meters away. It worked, he thought while breathing heavily. But it was only a coincidence. Let's do it again. He took 1 step, then another. Although he covered a huge distance with both steps, it seemed as though he had not moved an inch. The world around him remained unchanged. It was only when he took the 3rd. Stop! The darkness lurched. It grabbed him and pulled him back. Neo fell to the ground, his damp shirt clinging to his back. His breath came in ragged gasps. Ha! Ha! Neo had almost fallen into the gap. He had only survived thanks to the darkness elementals intervening at the last moment. Stop, 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 this is dangerous, Neo. Darkness elementals circled him anxiously, their whispering voices overlapping like a chorus of worried murmurs. The mere thought of him being in danger made them tremble. Training like Thysis dangerous. Eusetha treasure shadow supremagavia. Use the triasuranthos birds. You can learn it from the birds. Neo wanted to ask what the darkness was talking about. Treasure of Shadow Supreme? Before he could say anything, a sharp pain tore through his mind. He clutched his head, gritting his teeth as the pain seared through him. Then, just as suddenly, it disappeared. The moment the darkness elementals vanished, the oppressive weight lifted. It left Neo drenched in sweat. His limbs trembled slightly. Mental energy was spent depending on the number of elementals he communicated with. And unlike other elementals, all darkness elementals were one and many at the same time. Talking to a single darkness elemental was the same as talking to all darkness elementals at once, which caused an enormous consumption of mental energy. Had the darkness tried to speak longer, it would have been dangerous for Neo. He exhaled slowly, forcing himself to focus. What did it mean? Use the reward Shadow Supreme gave me? Neo clutched his head, feeling the lingering aftereffects of the pain. His intent vision weakened for a moment before clearing. No matter how much he thought about it, he couldn't find an answer. He decided to focus on the other point for now. Darkness told me to learn it from the birds. If I believe what Darkness said, those ostriches are also using pseudogap. It would explain their instantaneous speed, even though they are not using teleportation. Neo looked toward the farm. He understood learning about pseudogap by himself was dangerous. Darkness wanted him to observe. Using a reference would decrease the difficulty. What is this? Neo focused on the movement of the ostriches as they left pseudogap, causing them to become visible again. His senses followed their transitions, how they entered and exited the space with seamless ease. I think I can copy that if I try a bit. Neo was baffled by his own words. Chapter 414, Mastering Pseudogap. Since when had he become talented enough to mimic others just by watching? Thinking back, it had happened last time too, when he copied the air elementals and ended up falling into the gap. Even now, he could replicate the movements Percival had just performed after only a few glances. Is this what Darkness meant by using the treasure of Shadow Supreme? But I don't remember getting any prize like this. Confused, Neo could only put the issue aside for now. He stepped into the farm. He had to watch closely if he wanted to copy their movements perfectly, because even a slight error would cause him to fall into the gap. He couldn't afford a mistake like that. While moving, Neo kept his blessings active. He had been doing so since the beginning of the training. It was his way of adapting, of forcing his body and mind to get used to their effects. Then he dashed forward. As expected, the ostriches reacted instantly. Instead of increasing his speed, he maintained his pace and sharpened his senses. The birds moved fast. They suddenly appeared at his sides, their large bodies exiting the pseudogap. Neo focused. He memorized every detail of their movements, down to the tiniest shifts in their posture, the way their muscles tensed before phasing in and out. Dorothy and Mammothie lunged at him. Neo dodged effortlessly. The youngest bird let out an irritated chirp and increased the pace of its attacks. Neo moved fluidly, sidestepping every strike with ease. Thanks to his multiple blessings, his stats were sky-high. But he didn't celebrate. The real hurdle was yet to come. Fweet! Fweet! Timothy's shrill cry rang through the air, almost like a battle announcement. In the next instant, a leg appeared in Neo's path. There was no room to dodge. With access to pseudogap, Timothy could move instantly and block Neo's escape with precision. Neo acted as planned. He kicked with full force, aiming to counter the block with an attack. His leg should have collided with Timothy's outstretched limb. However, his foot phased straight through. No, it looked like it phased through when in truth it went around it. Fuck! It used pseudogap. Before Neo could complete his thought, Timothy's leg swept forward. A solid impact struck Neo's other, standing leg that was connected to the ground. He lost his balance. His body crashed onto the dusty ground. Fweet! The bird spread its wings in triumph. Its large frame cast a shadow over Neo's fallen form. As if savoring its victory, Timothy began to dance around him. Fweet! Fweet! The other ostriches joined in, their loud calls echoing in the air. Neo lay there for a moment, staring up at the sky. The clouds drifted lazily above, and all he could think was, I'm going to grill these fuckers if that's the last thing I do. Despite his inner feelings, Neo stood up with a neutral expression. The dry dirt clung to his clothes, and he dusted them off before silently returning to the starting point. His movements were calm. Too calm. Timothy tilted its head, confused by the human's lack of reaction. Had the taunting not been enough? Until today, the human always brought a dragon child with him. Teasing her had been amusing at first, but eventually, it got boring. That was why the three ostriches had been so excited when the human brought new toys a few days ago. The two newcomers were much more entertaining to play with. Their reactions had given the birds plenty of laughter. But now, Timothy didn't understand. Why had the black-haired human suddenly become so different? Timothy attacked again, its powerful legs sweeping toward Neo's feet. As always, the human tripped, and, as always, he simply dusted off his clothes and returned to the wooden barriers without a hint of frustration. Again, and again. Was he not getting angry at being defeated so easily? Timothy narrowed its eyes and changed its approach. It started tripping Neo closer to the tree, ensuring he was just a step away before sending him to the ground again. A near victory snatched away at the last moment. Surely that would frustrate him. But no, Neo remained indifferent. Meanwhile, on the other side of the farm, the hammer-wielding human was beginning to cause trouble for Timothy's siblings. But Timothy didn't pay attention to them. It had decided, no matter what, it would get a reaction out of the black-haired human. So it continued tripping him. Yet the human still showed no signs of irritation. Timothy was puzzled. What was this human trying to do? Then suddenly, a hand shot toward its neck with deadly precision. Fweet! Timothy flinched, barely moving out of the way in time. For a moment, a chill ran down its spine. Normally, people tried to attack Timothy and its siblings, but their aim was always poor, as if they couldn't properly perceive space. The birds never understood why, but it made bullying others so much easier. Yet this human, he had aimed directly at Timothy's neck. It must have been a coincidence. Or so Timothy thought until the human tried again. His second attempt, however, was off. His movements were still rough, still lacking the precision of his first strike. Neo clenched his fist, gazing at his hand. "It's almost within my grasp," he muttered under his breath. Timothy didn't understand the human's words, but for some reason they felt like an ominous premonition. Then, once again, the human ran forward from the wooden barriers. Timothy had already adjusted to his speed. It wouldn't be taken by surprise anymore. The bird stretched out its leg, preparing to trip him once more, when suddenly the human kicked at its feet. The attack, which should have been aimed poorly like all the others, was now frighteningly precise. Timothy's eyes widened in shock. It hurriedly withdrew its leg, retreating just in time. Had it not moved, the force of the blow would have shattered its bones. Before Timothy could retreat into the pseudogap completely, the human grabbed its leg and yanked it back. "Fweet!" Timothy shrieked, startled. Its wings flapped wildly, kicking up dust as it struggled to escape the human's grasp. But then it froze. The human was smiling, a faint, kind smile. Yet, for some reason, it sent a shiver down Timothy's spine. Fear crept up its chest, and before it realized it, it started to cry. Tears welled in its large, dark eyes as pitiful chirps escaped its beak. "Why are you crying?" The human's voice was calm. "I haven't even grilled you yet." He raised his hand, and black flames erupted on the ground. The dry grass withered instantly, and the heat distorted the air. The fire crackled hungrily as dark poles formed at its sides, and above them, a single horizontal pole hung in place. Timothy's entire body stiffened. Alarms blared in its mind. It could feel the searing heat licking at its feathers. Was this human planning to eat it? "Fweet! Fweet! Fweet!" Timothy cried desperately, flailing its legs. The human's grip remained firm. His smile widened slightly. "Why are you crying? Laugh. Laugh, you fucking bitch. Laugh like you were laughing before." Chapter 415. Cannibalism. Neo felt satisfied as the bird cried. He tied it above the mimicked flames before he walked toward the tree in the center of the farm. The mimicked flames weren't strong enough to kill Timothy, but they would terrify the bird for centuries to come. The other two ostriches didn't interrupt him. If their eldest and fastest sibling couldn't stop Neo, then they could not do it either. They merely watched, their large eyes filled with silent resignation. Neo plucked an apple from the tree before returning to the starting point. "You did it?" Cain said with mixed emotions, his gaze shifting between Neo and the restrained bird. "You don't look happy. The goal of the training was to teach you teamwork, but you brute-forced it," Cain replied. "Still, good work. If you can handle the birds alone, you should be a lot safer inside the abyss of nightmares." While Neo talked with Cain, he noticed Percival staring at him. "What is it? Want me to help you complete the training?" "I can do it myself." Percival slung the hammer over his shoulder and returned to the training. Neo chuckled at his attitude. He wasn't worried about Percival. At the rate he was growing, he should be able to complete the training within the next few days. "You can go back now," Cain said. "We have 2 more days before we meet up with the grand expedition. Use this time to learn the concealment spell I gave you. Take this too." Cain passed a piece of paper to him. "What's this?" "Language spell. We get a lot of immigrants in Tartarus, and everyone has different languages. This spell changes your words into the Tartarus Unified Language." "What about the interpretation?" "Everyone would speak in the same language thanks to the spell. However, they needed to learn the language to understand its meaning. The spell has an inbuilt interpreter that converts the language into pure thoughts and allows you to understand them." After talking with Cain, Neo entered the forest. The trees loomed tall, their twisted branches forming a canopy that blocked most of the sunlight. The air was thick with the scent of earth and distant, rustling leaves. Suddenly he heard a voice. "Thanatos." Neo instantly expanded the range of his senses to the limit. He frowned. Thanatos was a name anyone in Tartarus should not know. He searched around but found no one. "Who said my name? Was it elementals?" The voice had been familiar yet different. Neo couldn't place a finger on where he had heard it before. Who could it be? Neo's thoughts stopped when he noticed the sun in the sky. "Sunshine, did you call out my name right now?" he asked bluntly. The spirit should not remember Neo. The timeline had been changed, and Sunshine never met Thanatos. The golden sun remained silent, acting as if it was an inanimate object. "Sunshine?" There was no response. Neo could only shake his head and return to his task. The dense foliage rustled as he zipped through the forest at high speed, the wind whipping against his face. "I need to talk to Olivia and ask for her help to heal Elizabeth." Neo could sense Olivia and Nicola inside the house from hundreds of kilometers away. He was confident Olivia would help him, but he couldn't ask about it in front of Nicholas. The old man seemed like a hard-headed guy, and Neo had insulted his authority by publicly shaming his disciple. Even if Neo hadn't done that, Nicholas was one of the demigods who were Elizabeth's enemy. He would not want her to be healed. Neo needed to wait until Olivia was alone before approaching her. Since he couldn't do that now, he focused on his other main task. This place should be good enough. Neo stopped at an inconspicuous aura. The clearing was quiet, with only the occasional rustling of leaves breaking the silence. "Valkyria, come out." His shadows expanded and spat a single maggot out. "What is it?" she asked. "Oh, you can talk now?" "Yes. I learned your world's language." "No, I meant to ask, how can you talk without a mouth? This body has an organ for it. Can't you see my tiny little beautiful mouth?" She replied smugly. "Just talk with thought," Neo said, not outright saying a worm talking looked creepy. He had expected Valkyria to say she could compress air with some spell and talk with it. Not this. Valkyria guessed his thoughts, though she saw no reason to obey his command. Just then, a caterpillar rolled out of Neo's pocket. "Q, is it just me? Or did your pet just look at me and ask you if I'm its lunch?" Valkyria asked while sweating. After Neo broke through multiple ranks, Beelzebub was strengthened as well. He was now stronger than her. Knowing the little glutton, she was worried she couldn't escape if he tried to eat her. "You." He is saying he always wanted to try something from his same species. That's why he wants to eat you. We are not the same species. We just look alike, Valkyria shouted, stunned and horrified. And if we were from the same species, eating me would have been cannibalism. Q? Valkyria choked when she heard Beelzebub's question. No, cannibalism isn't something to eat. It means... She looked around, trying to decide the best words that would stop Beelzebub. It means a person you should never eat. Yeah, that's what it means. QQ? Beelzebub said something similar to, "Is that so?" and jumped down from Neo's pocket. The ground beneath him was covered in soft moss, cushioning his movements as he dragged himself over to Valkyria. While both were worms, Valkyria was not even half the size of Beelzebub. Beelzebub was much more pleasant to the eye. He could down her with a single gulp. Watching her closely, Beelzebub started to salivate. Fuck no! She swiftly transformed into a floating eyeball. They flew around and hid behind Neo, trying to use him as a shield. I ran away because you looked like you were going to eat me. Chapter 416. Offering a deal to Olivia. Valkyria had multiple bodies and could repopulate as long as even one body remained. But she didn't want to experience the sensation of being eaten if she could help it. Unknown to her, Beelzebub had no plan of eating her. He just wanted to make the hierarchy clear. Although he didn't hate her, he didn't like her either. It was hard to have a good impression of someone who killed him multiple times in the shadow trial. Now that you changed your appearance, let's get to the main topic. Can you feel a connection between us? I can feel something like that. Is it related to your skill? She answered, still keeping an eye on Beelzebub. The little glutton was looking around to eat something. That's exactly it. Crownless King said Neo would grow stronger with those he was bound to. He gained a skill from Valkyria after using the skill on her. Shared growth, a sub-skill of Crownless skill, was supposed to make Neo stronger as long as Valkyria grew stronger. He wanted to see how the skill worked. That's why he brought Valkyria here. Your trait is related to mental attacks, right? Yeah. Why are you asking though? Train it and rank up. There is something I want to find out. Just when he finished his words, the trees were slashed. It was as if a giant blade had cut them in half. Leaves and splinters flew through the air as the forest shook violently. A colossal mantis emerged from behind the fallen trees, its emerald carapace glistening under the dim light. It stared at Neo with its beady eyes. The monster was one of the inhabitants of Tartarus. It attacked Neo without any hesitation. Neo used dimensional shift. He dodged the attack with ease, but to others, it looked as if he never moved and the attack had phased through him without doing any damage. The giant mantis kept swinging its scythes at Neo. When nothing worked, it shifted its focus to the eyeball. Eek! Why is it looking at me? Fight it, Neo said. It's only one sub-rank stronger than you. Fight your mother. Corrupting those stronger than myself is hard with Void. How am I supposed to defeat it? Don't worry. You are immortal in this place. The immortality provided by Tartarus was the most basic one. The monster couldn't kill Valkyria, but Valkyria's attack, filled with Void, could corrupt souls and would kill the monsters permanently. I hope she ranks up quickly. I want to see what kind of bonus I will get when she gets stronger. Neo combed through the forest, stepping over twisted roots and crushed foliage. He learned the 2 spells Cain gave him while devouring every monster he could find. His stats increased by 15, 5 strength, 3 agility, 7 constitution, after 10 hours. The stats were low, but Neo didn't complain. He needed every ounce of strength. His goal was to surpass stage 9 gods and remove his bloodline curse. For that, he needed to get everything he could find and grow stronger. 15 primary stats is quite good for just 10 hours. As I thought, this place is a heaven for me with my concept of darkness. Another 5 hours later, he defeated a grade 4 exalted rank monster and devoured it. It looked like a giant snake. The monster's main ability was to wrap around its target and crush them. Since Neo was too small for it to wrap itself around him, he did not have much trouble against it. Constitution +8. Skin hardness +11. Neo raised a brow. He gained a lot of stats from this monster, probably because it was of exalted rank. Just after he finished the monster, he sensed Nicholas leaving the home. It gave Neo an opportunity to talk with Olivia. Neo covered the distance within a few dozen minutes and arrived at his destination. "Welcome back," Olivia said, noticing him. "I don't see the Sword Saint and Percival with you. They will be back by tomorrow. I came here early because I had something to talk with you." Olivia noticed Neo's serious expression. "Is it something you can't say here? If we can talk in private, it would be good," Neo said, sensing Ava inside the house. "Understood. Please lead the way." Neo and Olivia entered deep into the forest. The canopy above filtered the moonlight, casting shifting shadows on the ground. They stopped only when they had come far from the home. Neo searched through the area multiple times to make sure no one had followed them. "I want to heal Elizabeth." Olivia was surprised at his blunt words. "Why are you telling me that? I need a powerful healer with life and holy elementals to heal her." "You want me to heal her?" "Yes, you have life element. I would appreciate it if you could use your abilities to cure her injuries." "I don't have holy element." "I know, but for now, life should be good enough. Elizabeth's condition is at a critical stage." Olivia looked troubled. She didn't want to leave a bad impression on Neo, but helping Elizabeth was not what she wanted either. "If you can help me, I would help you too," Neo suddenly said. "Oh." "I will help you meet with Leonora," Neo said, then corrected his words. "Don't worry, you don't need to die for that." "That isn't something you should joke about," Olivia said, glaring at Neo for the first time. "I'm not joking. I'm planning to subdue the Tartarus's world core and have it fuse with our world. When that happens, Tartarus will become the part of our underworld. Since Tartarus is where both living and dead can walk dash, then Leonora and I can meet here." Olivia completed his words. Are you serious about this?" She shook her head. "No, I'm sorry, but no. It's impossible for you to do that. If you are going to lie, at least choose a good one. There is no way you can subdue a world core of Tartarus strength. Since the monsters here were paragon and exalted, possibly even fabled, it meant Tartarus was a stage 3 world. It was far beyond the capacity of Neo, who was barely touching the peak of grade 2 exalted. Chapter 417, Healing Elizabeth. "You don't need to worry about that. I have a plan." "A plan?" Olivia did not look convinced. "Yes. It's a plan that's guaranteed to work." She frowned. Although she wanted to ask what the plan was, she kept her thoughts to herself. After all, Tartarus might be listening. Neo knew it too. That's why he did not say anything anymore. Olivia juggled between the choices. The obvious answer was to not accept Neo's deal. The tyrant was too dangerous. Olivia and Nicholas combined had no chance against the tyrant. That's how powerful she was. But the chance of reviving her daughter was too alluring of a choice. She hesitated. Neo's words were like the temptation of a demon. "If you are worried about Elizabeth, then you don't need to," Neo said. Before, she was trying to protect her country like a cornered cat. That's why she was so desperate, trying to show off her might and scare away any potential dangers. She will not do anything like that anymore. Not after she was almost killed by the people of Mermaid Country, he explained. "Cat?" Olivia looked at him with a stunned gaze. "You are comparing her to a cat." As far as Olivia knew, cats were cute little pets, not some world-ending threats. If Elizabeth was a cat, then the underworld was a picnic spot. That's not the point. What I'm trying to say is you don't need to worry about her going down the path of tyrant again. What if she does? I will stop her if that happens. He would stop her? Elizabeth could easily rank among the strongest 10 exalted demigods in their world. It was impossible for Neo to defeat her when he was weaker than Nicholas and Olivia. Ha! Olivia couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. I want to say it's impossible, but it's at least more believable than you subduing Tartarus. Neo shrugged. The choice is yours. Help me save Elizabeth, and I'll help you meet Leonora. Okay. Her words were swift. If she needed to make a deal with the demon to meet her daughter, then she would do it. Besides, the dragon who remained at Neo's side was stronger than her. If Neo wanted to use force to make her work for him, he could have done then. What about the holy element? You need that too if you want to purify the void corruption, Olivia questioned. Percival needs time to increase his holy element mastery to that level. I doubt the tyrant has that much time left. Percival's mastery is not enough, but his guardian spirit has a powerful holy element affinity. The only thing holding back Sunshine is Percival's divine energy pool. If we can use something to boost Percival's divine energy pool temporarily, then Sunshine and you together can. Neo stopped speaking when he noticed Olivia's confused gaze. Was there something wrong with what I said? Who is Sunshine? It's the name of Percival's guardian spirit. Olivia seemed unsure, but she kept her doubts to herself. After they made the deal, Olivia entered Neo's shadow space. Her senses expanded instantly upon entering the subdimension. Its vastness surprised her. However, it was just the beginning. You have land here, and Olivia swiftly moved back and circulated her divine energy. Droplets of water started to appear around her. Was this your plan, Neo Hargraves? To ambush me after tricking me into entering your shadow space? She glared at him. Ugh. Don't act clueless. The void entity here is the proof you are working with them. Neo followed Olivia's gaze and noticed the thousand-eyed pillars in the distance. They were staring at Olivia in confusion too. He realized what was happening. Okay, stop. This is a misunderstanding. Neo spoke before Olivia started to rain down spells on him. At least let me prove my innocence. Prove what? That thing there is my shadow summon. The principal of the Demigod Academy has vouched for it. Neo had overlooked the fact that Olivia would see him as an enemy as soon as she noticed Valkyria. He could only improvise and bring the legal documents signed by Charlotte. Here, see this. A bug brought the documents to Neo. He held them up, knowing Olivia could see the fine print even from the distance. It has the principal's sign and her divine energy imprint. Olivia frowned. She slowed her chants and stopped the spells that were about to be released. She expanded her senses to examine the imprint of the papers. It's really Charlotte's divine energy imprint, she murmured. I told you. Neo walked towards her before giving her the papers. I brought Valkyria from the shadow trial. The principal gave me these documents knowing people won't trust me if I tell them the truth. Olivia took the papers while keeping her dozens of shields active. She went over the information multiple times. Her divine energy churned as she used spells to verify their authenticity carefully and make sure no tampering was done. Everything you said is right. She looked up and stared at the thousand-eyed pillars. I know you must have a lot to say, but let's focus on the task at hand, Neo said. Olivia nodded. She followed Neo towards the place where Elizabeth was present. Her medical bed was placed inside a cozy house made from mimicked earth elements. The ventilators were connected to her, and the constant beeping of the monitor echoed in the room. A violet flower was placed at the top of her bed. Olivia's gaze was involuntarily drawn to the flower. She tried to ignore it and faced Neo. Should I start now? Yes, please do so. A thick green aura appeared around Olivia. She used her concept to heal the injuries of Elizabeth. The process took hours, during which Neo focused on creating essence, bringing his total essence to 11/1,000. Olivia was drenched in sweat, her clothes clinging to her curves, by the end of the process. I've done the best I could, she said, breathing heavily. But as long as the corruption of void isn't removed, her injuries will keep reopening. Thank you for your help. Neo passed Olivia an energy drink and let her rest. He shifted his focus to Elizabeth. Her complexion had improved, and her breathing was stable. However, the deadline of the quest to save her remained the same. Chapter 418 Grand Expedition Meeting an Outer God. It's clear now. Unless her injury and corruption are both treated, it's impossible to save her. Neo's gaze moved towards the flower placed at the top of the bed. Using the flower without her permission was not something he wanted. If nothing works, Then I will try to enter her mind with my trait, and see if it's possible to talk to her mind in her dreams, and ask for permission to use the flower. Neo and Olivia left the shadow space when it was time to meet Cain. The Sword Saint came back with Percival, who looked quite healthy. Yes, all of you are right. Cain chuckled, noticing their reactions. I took Percival to a healing pond to make sure he was fine and dandy for the expedition. Another pond? Olivia muttered. Ha ha ha, we have quite a few ponds. All of them have their own purposes. The group had a weird expression as they nodded. Cain held one last meeting before they set out to meet the grand expedition. As I've said before, I have a clue to help you guys leave this place, Cain said and turned to Olivia. I know you must have a trump card that gives you confidence you can leave this world, but I have seen many examples of people thinking the same and failing. Please don't take my words the wrong way, but I think all of you should try to follow the lead I will be giving you and find a way out of this place, Cain explained. Please go on, Olivia said, showing that she wasn't offended by his words. Cain took out a picture from thin air and placed it on the table. The woman in the picture had white hair and red eyes. She was a familiar face. However, unlike the indifferent expression he was used to, the woman in the picture was smiling. Julie de Beaufort. She was able to leave Tartarus a few years ago. For some reason, she later returned and has been hiding inside the abyss of nightmare since then. One of the goals of the grand expedition is to find her and get the method of leaving Tartarus. Coincidentally, she is also from our world, and Cain stopped speaking, noticing their reactions. You recognize her? We do, Percival spoke, trying to make sense of the situation. She is the Tyrant Queen. He explained about Elizabeth to Cain. I see, so there is someone who looks exactly like her and shares the same family name. This is news to me, Cain nodded. We feel the same. No one ever came across any information about the tyrant having a twin, much less that the twin lived in Tartarus, Percival commented. While no one paid attention, Olivia shifted her gaze to Neo. Her eyes were questioning him if he knew about this. Neo remained expressionless. The meeting ended shortly after. Then Cain brought them towards the meeting point of the grand expedition. Follow me closely, and don't do anything rash, Cain warned. The group moved through the jungle for 2 days and nights. Neo used the time to master the language spell and the world energy concealment spell to a usable degree. We are here, Cain suddenly said. They walked towards the mountain's top, revealing the space beyond. The sight gave a shiver to the group. Millions, if not tens of millions, of beings were present in the plain below. Some looked like humans, having 4 limbs. Most had a bizarre, monster-like appearance. A round body having the lower half of a snake or wings of a bat. The ranks of the grand expedition were made of countless species. The weakest among them was Empyrean. Tens of thousands were paragons and thousands were exalted. Watching an assortment of an army that could crush their world with ease made the group freeze. The reason for Neo's shock was different. This is the Blood Sea army that will invade Luminara in a few years. Neo was sure of his guess. He recognized some of the monsters. The 2 giant monster brothers that were taller than most skyscrapers were the most conspicuous. He remembered them from the book. Something is weird here. The army that attacked Luminara was a brainless monster army for the most part. But these guys are all sentient. Not to mention, they are much stronger than their monster versions that will invade Luminara. While Neo was busy sorting his thoughts, Cain chuckled. There is no need to be nervous. His words snapped the group out of their stupor. You 4 might not be the strongest, but you are good enough to walk among the ranks of the grand expedition with your head held high. You told us we were cannon fodder, Percival joked, having recovered from the shock. That was a white lie. It was meant to motivate you to get stronger. While the 2 talked, Neo scanned the members of the grand expedition with his senses. The more I see it, the more I get baffled. There was no need to say how strong an army consisting of thousands of exalted, tens of thousands of paragons, and millions of Empyreans was. But the real strength of the army was somewhere else. 7 powerful presences were present inside the tent at the center of the grand expedition. Their presence was stronger than the combined presence of everyone else in the expedition. Strong. Only one thought was present inside Neo's head. They are strong. Just then, one of the presences suddenly disappeared. Those are some new faces. The space next to Neo distorted, and a woman walked out. She had dark purple hair, amethyst eyes, and an extremely alluring aura that made one's heart beat loudly. Olivia, Nicholas, and Percival were instantly bewitched by her beauty. Only Neo remained clear-headed. "Two of you resisted my charm?" she spoke, surprised. Her eyes looked at Neo and the blue flame floating near Neo's shoulder. Suddenly, Neo opened his mouth. Are you an outer god?" "Of course I am, sweetie." Her small teasing smile was mesmerizing. Neo could feel her power of charm behind that smile. It was an extremely strong ability. If not for his mental resilience, he would have fallen for her at the first sight. Chapter 419, Void Dragon God. The woman leaned toward Neo, as if searching for something inside him. "You must be tainted if you can tell I'm an outer god." She smiled. "But your corruption feels weak. You haven't awakened void." "Not yet. How about I help you?" She stepped closer. A faint, alluring scent drifted toward Neo's nostrils, carrying a hypnotic sweetness that made his head feel light. Before the tension could escalate, Kane's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Let them go. They are with me." "Of course." She pulled back, and the invisible force holding Neo in its tight grip loosened. The bewitchment that had ensnared Olivia, Percival, and Nicholas also faded, leaving them momentarily disoriented. They noticed the presence of void around the woman and almost moved. "Don't," Kane said before they could react. "She is Black Medium Square, the clan leader of the Void Dragon clan, and an outer god, yes. But she isn't our enemy." Percival and Neo winced as Kane spoke the woman's name. A heavy force crashed down on their minds, like an iron hammer striking their skulls. Olivia and Nicholas fared better. As exalted, they could withstand the pressure, but even they couldn't hear her name clearly. A fabled, Neo thought. No, not a fabled. Kane called her a god, so I guess I should say she is a stage 3 god. The others remained tense. An outer god being a friend? That was impossible in their diaries. "Don't bother," Neo said. "Even if you try to fight her, she can kill us with a snap. The fact that she hasn't means she isn't our enemy." He spoke before their instincts could overtake reason, and before their hands could reach for their weapons. "Thank you, dear, for standing up for me." The woman chuckled. Her honeyed voice was soothing to hear, and addictive. Despite her innocent face, her figure and presence resembled that of a succubus. Having been bewitched once, they now understood how dangerous she truly was. "Why are you here?" she questioned Kane. "They are going to participate in the grand expedition," Kane replied. The woman gave them a sweeping glance before her gaze settled on the blue flame hovering near Neo's shoulder. "Welcome," she said, a smile tugging at her lips. "We appreciate all the help we can get." She was about to open a warp gate toward the tent when Kane suddenly stopped her. "We will walk. I want them to adjust to the presences of this level, and it will help them familiarize themselves with other members of the grand expedition." "If you say so." The woman led the way. Kane, Neo, and the others followed behind her. The massive crowd before them instinctively parted, creating a clear path. Neo could feel countless eyes watching him. Among them, the presence of exalted beings stood out the most. He could read their thoughts. "New people. The grand disaster is here. The grand disaster. Why does that flame have the presence of an ancient dragon? We need to run. The great disaster has returned." The huge number of people made the intents entangled. Their intents clashed and overlapped, creating a chaotic mess. Neo could only decipher the most dominant ones, which were the thoughts of the majority. It didn't take long for him to realize who they meant by great disaster. Kane. Everyone was afraid of him. If everyone is afraid of Kane, there's a high chance he was fabled rank before his trait was sealed. He's far stronger than his gene limit dictates. Neo's gaze shifted toward Nicholas and Olivia. Those two, too. They should have been born when Earth was still stage 1. Their gene limit should have been Paragon, yet they are exalted. He continued pondering the reason behind it until they reached the tent. Inside, the space was sparse yet grand. A massive table stood at the center, surrounded by 9 chairs. 3 figures sat in the chairs. The remaining 3 seats were occupied by what appeared to be blurry holograms. A red-haired androgynous man, his flawless face expressionless, leaned forward slightly. His lean figure gave him an air of both grace and danger. "Why are you here, Kane Williams?" he asked. "I'm here to meet my friends." Kane grinned. Before the man could respond, Kane turned to the group. "The redhead is, let's call him Vlad, since you can't hear their true names. He is the clan leader of the Blood Dragon clan." He casually waved toward the man before gesturing toward the woman seated beside him. "The woman next to him is Celestia, the clan leader of the Hope Dragon clan." She had long blonde hair and wore a blindfold. Although she seemed blind, Neo suddenly felt as if he had made eye contact with her, which should have been impossible. She gave him a curt before ignoring him completely. The empty seat next to her should be Zara's. As I've said before, she is the clan leader of the Void Dragon clan. Kane's gaze shifted to the young boy sitting beside Zara's empty seat. "The brat next to Zara's seat is, who are you?" Kane asked, narrowing his eyes. "First time I'm seeing you." The boy grunted, his arms crossed. "Black Medium Square, the clan leader of the Weapon Dragon clan." The headache again. Neo tried to ignore it and studied the boy. He looked barely 15. Despite his age, his aura was overwhelming, like a sword drawn and ready to strike. "A brat is a clan leader?" Kane asked, surprised. "Shut your damned mouth, great disaster," the boy snapped. "You are a mere man. How dare you talk like that to me?" "Oh, dear, no need to be angry about such a simple thing." A teasing voice interrupted him. Before the boy could react, Zara, the Void Dragon clan leader, appeared behind him. She casually squished his cheeks between her fingers, stretching them as if he were a child. "You, woman, not this again. Let me go." "No, no. Call me Big Sis if you want me to stop." Chapter 420, Forbidden Element and the Strongest Element. She pinched his cheeks harder, forcing his mouth shut. The boy squirmed in frustration, but Zara's grip refused to budge. Her mischievous smile only grew as he tried to escape. Kane ignored the duo and addressed Neo and the others. "The Weapon Dragon clan changes their clan leader every 100 years through a tournament." He gestured at the struggling boy. "The one who wins the tournament becomes the clan leader. He must be the new tournament winner. Though, if I have to be honest, I never thought a hatchling who isn't even 100 years old would become the Weapon Dragon clan leader." Kane continued. "As for the 3 others, you can see they aren't present here. We can skip their introductions. They have sent their forces for Grand Expedition, but their clan leaders won't be participating themselves." He pointed at the 3 blurry holograms flickering over the remaining seats. "Don't talk like it's not your damned fault, great disaster." The boy, finally breaking free from Zara's grasp, spat the words through clenched teeth. His sharp fangs bared slightly as he glared at Kane. "It's because of you and the other great disasters that the dragon clans can't divert all their manpower toward the abyss. We have to keep some forces here in case you and the others go berserk." The tension in the room thickened. Even the air felt heavier. Kane laughed. He raised his hands in surrender. "Well, don't worry. My hands are tied, literally." Neo remained silent as he analyzed the Dragon Clan leaders one by one. Each carried an overwhelming presence. Blood Dragon Clan, the clan leader has the ability that would be one of the main culprits in the Blood Sea War. Void Dragon Clan, the clan leader is an outer god. Hope Dragon Clan, judging from the name, their entire clan has hope affinity. I can't fathom how they managed to create a clan when everyone is born with a forbidden element. Forbidden elements could cause great harm to their users if not wielded properly. Hence, hope was classified as a forbidden element. A hope element user would always have hope. If their crush rejected them, they would always have hope that their crush would return. This could easily grow into an unhealthy mental condition that could force them to make wrong decisions. The most famous tale of a Hope user was a man punching a wall. He wanted to break an iron wall, but he was too weak. Everyone told him to give up. However, the man remained steadfast in his efforts. He had hope and thus kept punching the wall. In the end, his hands became mangled, and he died of blood loss. The hope element would almost always turn its users into obsessive freaks. They would single-mindedly chase their goals once they set their minds to something. These 3 dragon clans were enough as is, but a weapon dragon clan was beyond my expectation. Neo's gaze moved to the young boy, the so-called clan leader of the weapon dragon clan. His youthful face didn't match the overwhelming aura he gave off. Weapon affinity is widely accepted to be the strongest affinity. If trained properly, its users become unmatched in the same rank. Having a clan full of freaks like that is as surprising as finding a clan of hope element users. Weapon affinity didn't affect only sword users, spear users, and the likes. A weapon was anything that could be used to attack. Words, prayers, spells, inventions like dolls or trucks. If it could harm, it was a weapon. Why have you brought those humans here? Vlad spoke. They want to participate in the grand expedition, Cain replied. Vlad frowned, seemingly wondering what the goal was for mere awakeners who were only at the exalted level to participate in grand expedition. A long silence stretched. Very well, they can come with us. With that, Vlad stood up. His long red hair swayed slightly as he turned towards the exit. It's time we depart. The 4 dragon clan leaders became serious. The boy Tyr stood up and walked out first, followed by the others. Neo and the rest trailed behind as the dragon clan leaders stepped onto the grand stage just outside the tent. A vast plain stretched beyond them, filled with warriors preparing for war. For grand expedition. Instantly, the soldiers of the grand expedition became quiet. The boy stood upon the stage and swept his gaze over the countless warriors before him. Then he spoke. His voice wasn't just loud. It shook the world itself. The very air trembled, as if the weight of his words carried an undeniable force. Brothers and sisters, hear me now. Look around you. This is Tartarus. It thinks it can break us. It has taken our freedom, our bodies, even our deaths. But it will never take our spirit. We are not defined by these chains or this darkness. We are defined by our refusal to yield. Stand with me. Fight with me. For the light beyond this prison. For the future we will reclaim. We are unbreakable, and we will rise. Who stands with me? He questioned. We do. A roar erupted from the soldiers. Who fights with me? We do. Who dares to hope, to dream, to live? We do. The ground trembled beneath their unified cry. Dust rose from the force of their voices. The air became charged with electrifying enthusiasm. Some warriors gripped their weapons tighter, their eyes burning with newfound determination. Others slammed their fists to their chests in salute, their armor clanking in response. The boy raised his hand high. Today we move. Today we fight. Hold your weapon and walk along with me. Today we live. A deafening cheer erupted. The sound of millions of warriors shouting in unison sent shockwaves through the land. Even the sky above seemed to tremble. The boy turned around and left the stage. Cain, watching from a short distance, raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected the other clan leaders to let the youngest one initiate the grand expedition. But after listening to him, he understood why. His weapon is his words, Cain muttered, arms crossed as he observed the lingering energy in the air. He boosted morale, enthusiasm, and gave several buffs with a single speech. You are right. Zara's voice suddenly sounded beside him. Cain glanced to the side. She had appeared next to him without a sound. Tyr is known as Truth amongst his clan members, Zara explained, her voice carrying a hint of pride. It said his word weapon concept is the strongest word weapon concept in the Weapon Dragon clan's history. Everyone believes he can surpass the primogenitor of the Weapon Dragon clan. Cain noticed the subtle smile on her lips. He narrowed his eyes. You look quite happy talking about him. Of course I am. Zara folded her arms below her bosoms, her expression one of satisfaction. He is going to marry my younger sister. I'm happy she found such a good man. Kane rolled his eyes. Found? Are you sure she did not bewitch him? Come on. We need to go, Zara said. The space around the group warped. They appeared in another area.
Hello everyone. We now have a Discord server. Join us for faster updates, discussions about your favorite novels, and exclusive Discord-only content. Don't miss out. See you there. Scan the QR code on the screen or enter any of the displayed links into your browser to join our Discord.